So, in a leaked email, well, I'm not sure we say a leaked email, but a leaked memo from Whitehall to Boris Johnson talking about what the Sunday Times calls Whitehall secret no-deal Brexit preparation leaked. The Sunday Times has obtained the government's classified, quote, Yellowhammer report in full. So, Britain faces shortages of fuel, food and medicine, a 3-month meltdown at its ports, a hard border with Ireland and rising costs in social care in the event of a no-deal Brexit, according to an unprecedented leak of government documents that lays bare the gaps in contingency planning. The documents, which set out the most likely aftershocks of a no-deal Brexit rather than worst-case scenarios, have emerged as the UK looks increasingly likely to crash out of the EU without a deal. Compiled this month by the Cabinet Office under the codename Operation Yellowhammer, the dossier offers a rare glimpse into covert planning being carried out by the government to avert a catastrophic collapse in the nation's infrastructure. A lot of negativity about a no-deal Brexit has been wildly overdone. Boris Johnson on July 2nd. A lot of negativity about no-deal Brexit has been wildly overdone. The file marked officially sensitive, requiring security clearance on a need-to-know basis. It is remarkable because it gives the most comprehensive assessment of the UK's readiness for a no-deal Brexit. It states that the public and businesses remain largely unprepared for a no-deal, and the growing EU exit fatigue has hampered contingency planning, which has stalled since the UK's original departure date in March. A senior Whitehall source said, "This is not Project Fear. This is the most realistic assessment of what the public will face with a no deal. These are likely, basic, reasonable scenarios, not the worst case." So the revelations include, and again, if you've been following us on this channel for a while, you've known this. This is what we've been saying all along of implications of a no-deal Brexit. So, the government expects a return of a hard border in Ireland as current plans to avoid widespread checks will provide unsustainable. This may spark protests, road blockages and direct action. Logger jams caused by months of border delays could affect fuel distribution, potentially disrupting the fuel supply in London and the southeast of England. Up to 85% of lorries using the main channel crossings may not be ready for French customs and could face delays of up to 2.5 days. Significant disruption at ports will last up to 3 months before the flow of traffic improves to a 50 to 70% of the current rate. Petrol import tariffs the government has set at 0 will inadvertently lead to the closure of 2 oil refineries and 2,000 job losses. A widespread strike action and disruptions to fuel availability. So, once again, we already know that there is a possibility, a very likely possibility, of job losses following Brexit, and here you have the government basically saying, if the government is going to set tariffs to 0 on fuel, which it cannot do under WTO rules, it cannot do that, and it's already saying that will cause the loss of 2,000 jobs. Passenger delays at EU airports, St Pancras Eurotunnel and Dover. Medical supplies will be vulnerable to severe and extended delays as 3/4 of the UK's medicines enter the country via the main channel crossings. The availability of fresh food will be reduced and prices will rise. This could hit vulnerable groups. So essentially replace vulnerable groups with the poor in this country. Potential clashes between UK and European Economic Area fishing vessels amid predictions that 282 ships will sail in British waters illegally on Brexit Day. Protesters across the UK, which may you may remember already this week, we've already discussed this. There are 32 areas around Britain where other countries can fish under international law. But there you go. Protests across the UK may require significant amounts of police resources. Rising costs will hit social care, with smaller providers impacted within 2 to 3 months and larger providers 4 to 6 months after. Gibraltar will face delays of more than 4 hours at the border with Spain for at least a few months, which are likely to adversely impact its economy. The revelations come as Boris Johnson signals that the UK would set a date for a general election after the UK has left the EU. If Jeremy Corbyn succeeds in a vote of no confidence and preventing rebels from being able to stop a no-deal Brexit, Johnson is preparing to hold talks with France's President Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, ahead of this week's G7 summit in Brexit. But number 10 last night was playing down the prospect of a Brexit breakthrough, and Germany believes no deal is highly likely. The leak of the Yellowhammer dossier underlies the frustration within Whitehall over the lack of transparency surrounding preparations for leaving the EU. Successive UK governments have a long history of failing to prepare their citizens to be resilient for their own emergencies, said a Cabinet Office source. The absence of a clear picture of the UK's future relationship with the EU has hindered preparations, as it does not provide a concrete situation for third parties to prepare for. The document states that some of the bleakest predictions relate to goods crossing the French border, and the file says that the first day of no deal, between 50 to 85% of heavy goods vehicles travelling via the shortest channel straits, which is across Dover, may not be ready for French customs, reducing the flow of freight of lorries between 40 and 60%. Unready lorries will fill the ports and block flow. This is the worst disruption to the main crossings that could last up to 3 months before it impacts a significant improvement level. You know, what can we say? We've been saying this all along. So despite Johnson repeatedly saying during the Tory leadership campaign that there will be, quote, there will be clean drinking water in the event of no deal, the document raises the possibility that a failure in the chemical supply chain could affect up to 100,000 worth of people.